Well, welcome. Today, I'm Jim Peacock with Peak Careers Consulting, and today I'm interviewing, the interview is with Chris Brogan. So what we're going to talk about is, want to explore is, do you struggle with your New Year's resolutions? Do you find developing goals to be cumbersome or awkward? So today we're going to learn more about why and kind of how Chris chooses 3 words each year to guide him. And you could actually see my blog on the same topic if you'd like to see some more of my thoughts. But today, our guest, Chris Brogan, he provides strategy and skills for the modern business. He's a CEO of Owner Media Group, a sought-after public speaker, and the New York Times bestselling author of 9 books and working on his 10th. Ask him about it. He also offers, this wasn't in the bio he sent me, but he offers webinars, a bunch of great webinars and courses, and just generally just all great advice. And so I'm really pleased to have some of Chris's time today. And I've not met him until today, and I've been following him for a while now. But today we're going to talk with Chris. So Chris, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Good to see you and good to talk with your gang. I
appreciate it. And so I guess what I want to do is I want to start with, how long have you been doing these 3 words in Maryland?
I started at the very beginning of 2006, and I don't really know what the impetus was at that time. I said to myself, I think resolutions aren't really working for me, and I've got to think of a different way to do this. And so I just picked 3 guiding words that I hoped would have enough kind of vector and angle to them that would allow me to decide how I would parse my time in how I, conducted my business and how I did what I did. And really what's interesting is that timing really matches part of the big takeoff of me doing all the stuff that I've done in this most recent career of mine. And I can tell you that the runway before that, I had started blogging way back in 1998 when they were calling it journaling. And I was just starting to get popular. I was somewhere towards like 2005, people were starting to pay attention. I did my first podcast in 2005 and then launched an event called PodCamp near the end of 2006. And that was based on my 3 words. My 3 words were ask, do, and share. And the idea was, I'm just going to ask questions for stuff I don't know how to do anymore. I'm going to do this stuff, and then I'm going to share what my results were. And so I launched an event. I had never run an event in my life. A couple hundred, 300 or 400 people showed up. We called up sponsors. We didn't know how to deal with sponsors. So we just called up and said, hey, can we have a bag of money? And they were like, what do we get? I'm like, I don't know. What would you like? Because we had never run an event. So we were like the least professional humans ever. And thankfully, most of the people were very, very nice. The only people who were not nice were Apple Computer. And then everything went wonderfully. And my use of 3 words since then, I've done it every year. It's at the very beginning of the year we launch, and at the very end of the previous year, we kind of get people ready for it. And when I say we, it's taken off. There's a lot of people who like to do the same process, and I really enjoy seeing other people's choices for their 3 words. And it's become one of the weird side legacies of things I do.
I know. I love it. And I love this quote. The concept of 3 words allows me to think in more dimensions about what I want to do. It's a bit like turbocharged goal planning. And actually, that's going to be in my blog this year that I write about when I introduce my 3 words too. But can you talk a little bit about that? How it kind of gives you dimensions, and it's a bit like turbocharged goal planning. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, so one of the weird things we do as humans is we keep forgetting that our day is our week, is our month, is our year. Someone will say, I really want to lose 30 pounds, and then they'll eat a bag of pretzels. And they'll say, because, I'm going to diet at some point, and then, boy, I'm going to lose that 30 pounds. Like in their head, 30 just kind of shows up one day. Like the doorbell rings, and there's a guy there with a bucket. He goes, I'm here for your 30 pounds. And you just take it and you leave. And so we forget that, it's everything we do daily that impacts what we get for a week's results, et cetera. So someone will say to me, man, I want to make $120,000 a year. I go, great. That's $10,000 a month. That's $2,500 a week. Go. And then they lock right up. Well, I don't know how to make $2,500 a week. And I go, well, there's your 120 a year. So the idea of these turbocharged goal planning is what we do a lot is we just stack things. We just say, okay, yeah, I'll try that. I'll figure out if this works. And it's good. Curiosity is good, except that we have such finite resources.
Mm.
We don't have all the time in the world. We don't have endless rabbit holes that we can go down to try to figure out what we're going to do. So as humans, it would be really nice if we could parse just a little bit and sort of sort based on a little bit of simple criteria. So these ideas of these 3 words that I come up with, I try to use them as ways to sort. Am I going to take this on? Should I be doing this? Oh, I find myself with 20 minutes. What should I be doing with this 20 minutes? And if I can just consistently look at those 3 words, I'm going to have a much better experience and payload than when I don't.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and you may see it on my PowerPoint slide when up at the end of this, but I put my words on all my PowerPoints. You know, if I'm doing a presentation, it's on my PowerPoints. It's on my mirror, in my bathroom mirror, and it's on the computer, and it's on the refrigerator. And my wife is like, "What is all?" You know, she doesn't know what's going on half the time, because the words don't mean much to other people, but they mean something to me. And I think you do indeed have to take those words, find words that mean something to you and understand why, but then keep them in front of you. I just think there's some, you know, putting stuff out to the universe. Oh, I mean, 20 years ago, I would have said, listen, you know, go stop smoking what you're smoking or whatever, you know. But now I really absolutely believe in the power of the universe, and having those words in front of me. I mean, last year, one of my words was, this year, 2017, is one of my words is authentic. And it was just uncanny. I had people who were doing searches on the internet for someone like me, you know, doing career counseling and training and all that. And 2 different times, people who had never seen me, never met me before, said, you know, one of the things I really love about what I've seen on your website and in your blogs is how genuine you are. And I'm like, okay. And the other person actually used the word authentic.
Wow.
And I don't think that's an accident. I think that's part of that, of choosing those words, and like you say, keeping it in front of you and saying, you know, this is important to me, and it's important to me. And what I love about your quote is it is really multidimensional, you know. And so one of my words for 2018 is capacity, and that's really one of the things that you kind of talked about, the limitation of time, and you know, that's something I struggle with. So
right.
One of the things that I did to come up with my words, and I'm kind of curious, I'm going to ask you a little bit now on sort of the how you do it, because it is a little, you know, how do you come up with 3 words? For me, I took a one day I'm trying one day a month. It doesn't happen every month, but I try to do a tech-free day once a month. Probably did it 4 or 5 times last year. Trying to do more, but I took that tech-free day. No phone, no computer. I go to an office or a space with nothing, you know, just a place to sit. And I went back through my journal. That was one of the things that I kind of try to journal just a little bit every day. And one of the things that I saw in my journal was capacity. And I'm thinking about it. You know, it's important to me. And so now I'm really trying to get my handle around that. And so that's how I kind of try to do this. Take this one whole day, look through journals, and do some other things too. But that was my how. How do you go about coming up with it? What kind of strategies or tips do you have for coming up with these?
So me personally, I have the fortune of a body of work of this now. So I look at all of the previous years and I match them against, was this a good or bad year? And I can tell you by my 3 words, without any journal, I can tell you if it was a good or bad year. I can tell you if the words look dumb, I go, oh, that was a bad year. And if I look at the word and it's just so simple and pure, I go, that's a great year. You know, my best years, and I have them here because I was terrified you were going to ask me and I wouldn't know. You know, one of them was believe, loops, and farm. Like, I don't use a lot of big words. I have a great vocabulary, but I had a great teacher way back when in one of the colleges I attended who said, tell it to me like I'm 6 years old. His name was Ken Hadge. And so I apply the Ken Hadge rule to my life as often as I can, which is small words, as few syllables as humanly possible. And that goes with that sense of being authentic. I am absolutely bare naked in who I am. And I'm the same guy. If you meet me coming out of the restroom and shake my freshly washed hand, I will be the same guy who keynotes in front of 7,000 people, and the same guy who I ran into Disney World, of all places on the earth. I ran into people who are like, oh, Chris Brogan. I'm not famous at all. I'm like weirdly internet famous. So when somebody shouts across Disney, hey, Chris Brogan, it's an anomaly. But when they met me, I was the same guy. So that said, these words have to be simple. And so that's my first thing. My second thing is I have a few rules of what not. One is never waste words by making a phrase. So never make it like catch the monkey, because you've just wasted the. Catch might be the only important part of that sentence, and you just don't know. And so don't do that. Don't look for cute acronyms, because sometimes you force a word to be a different word just for the acronym. You want to spell big, so you're like, okay, independent, and like that has nothing to do with your intentions. So don't do acronyms. And then where I go from there is look for words that can have some meaning for you, potentially your business, and potentially your client. Because that's the synergy we always work on, right? I mean, no matter what we're doing, we have some boss and we have somebody there's always someone we hope to help, and there's someone that we deliver something to in our life, no matter where we are. I'm a big fan of servant leadership. So when I look at words, I want the words to impact me the most, because it has to be my capabilities, my ability to move forward that changes things. I have to have my set of tools to come forward with something. And so I look at what word is going to drive me to be better as me, and then better as a servant of others. And so I think that that's kind of how you find the words. And then sometimes you just kind of play and you go and look. And then if you really, like a lot of the people who've done my 3 words for the last bunch of years, you cheat and you wait till January 1st and you just read everyone else's posts, and then you take some of their words and steal them.
But you said the word intention, and I just think that to me is such a key part of this. And so it's words, but it's not just a word, man. There's this whole intentionality thing that's driving underneath it for me, so like this year I have reach, capacity and consistency. And I was thinking, reach is, I'm actually going to start doing, I'm going to try to do quarterly webinars. I am not ready today. That the day of this interview, I'm not really totally ready. And, but I know that if I really want to grow, that I have to reach, and so it's a word that has a lot of this intentionality behind it, where I want to go. And are there goals associated with that word reach? Yeah, I do have some goals with that. I mean, I actually do have some goals and some structure to webinar. I want to do one in January. I want to do one in, March or April, so I mean, I do have to break it down, because I mean, if I say I'm going to do it on January 11th, I got to do something on December 20th, and I got to do something on, you do got to break it down into, so that the goals help, but that intentionality that's behind the word reach is for the webinars, but it's really for lots of other stuff too, right? I mean, it's for, it's for a lot of other stuff. And some of that stuff that as I think about the word, just that one word, it does sort of mash into my personal life. There's some stuff that I want to reach. And I really do encourage the folks who are watching this and who are reading my blogs and Chris's blog on this topic to really give this a shot, because there's a lot of power behind this and those, the understanding of each word. There's just so much meaning. It's, again, to your point, it's this more dimensions that you talk about that I really love.
Well, words are software. So we have an opportunity with words to program our intent and our choices and our actions. And, words allow for identity and definition. Words are the system behind magic, and the system behind religion, and the system behind science. How we classify things in science is important, and it ties to words. And so we forget and we're sort of sloppy with our words. And, the 4 commitments says, be impeccable with your word. And in that case, they use the word meaning, like your promise or whatever. Be impeccable with your promise. But I love the other use of be impeccable with your word, meaning choose words that will stand out in some way when we speak in general. Choose words that will drive us towards what we said we wanted to do and what we have expressed as ourselves. Choose words that define us in the best possible way. I said to someone the other day, they're having a really rough time with their life, and I said, well, I don't remember when you last got in the driver's seat. I think you've been a passenger. So as much as you're complaining about everything, you're in the passenger seat. And I looked, and there's no steering wheel, there's no brakes. You don't get a gas pedal. All you get is the window, and you can scream at the other person. But you don't get a lot of choices. So you might as well try to drive. And so, when we pick 3 words, the biggest goal, especially for developing career and all that, is you've got to expand beyond what your limited version of your identity is too. I mean, reach is a great word. Reach is a great word because it could be the verb, I've got to reach out and do some stuff, but it can also be the action of, or the intention of, I want more people to know who I am. So then when you start looking at your schedule and you look at the word reach, it's not just, is my webinar going to be ready for January 11th? It's, should I go to that mixer? Should I send 100 emails out this week to ask for speaking gigs because I want to reach more people on more stages? Am I willing to put myself in an area of vulnerability because it's a reach beyond where I am right now? And there's so many pieces of value that you can ascribe to one word. And that's why words exist too. Words are an icon that can mean a lot of things. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a word is worth 1,000 other things because of what it means. And so to me, there's a lot of value and a lot of benefit in just playing with words for a while and then really getting intentional about good choices.
Yeah, and it's so true. The words and the word reach for me could have very different meanings to someone else, and someone else may choose that word for a very different reason. But
absolutely,
and I ended up on that retreat that I was talking about. I ended up picking. I probably had a dozen words, that really were sitting there, and it was wonderful to take the day. And it was a day. When I do this retreat, I try to go. I leave the house at like 8 o'clock, and I don't usually come back till 4:30 or 5. And it's a thinking day. Mm-hmm. I find that though, I think I had about 10 or 12 different words that I thought, oh, these sort of resonated with me. But sure. as I thought and as I was reading that day, sometimes it was funny is that some of the words came out of some of the articles I was reading. I was like, I gravitated to, why did I bring that journal with me that day? Why did I bring National Career Development Journal with me that day? And I opened, why did I read that article? And then in that article, I'm finding some of the one or two words that I've chosen on my paper, or words that are similar again. And that's where that multi-dimension comes out. So each word is so powerful, and I just think people have got to say, what does that word mean to me? And I think that's the most important thing, is really process that at that level.
Sure.
Well, listen, again, I'm trying to keep these interviews fairly short, and I appreciate your time. But any final thoughts, Chris? Any other comments about this exercise?
One of the things that I tell people a lot in doing the My 3 Words exercise is also, people ask me, well, can I change a word? What if I have the wrong word? And I always say, I think you should allow yourself the month of January. And I think after that, you really have to lock in. Because if not, then you're not really being intentional with it either. And how are you going to know if you did good or bad? Like if you change it 4 times in a year, that's probably a sign that you have so much turmoil, you can't even stick to 3 words you wrote on a piece of paper for yourself.
And maybe maybe you and I should give that person the inconsistency word. Maybe we should give them.
Well, and again, I mean, it's the point I was making about how we label ourselves with identity. I mean, there's so many people who think they're stupid, or they're bad at math, or they're bad at sales, or they're whatever. And almost every time that label comes to us from either an early bad experience that we weren't ready for, or someone else decided to gift us with a certain label. Les Brown, who wrote the book Live Your Dreams and had that speech, he was labeled educably mentally retarded back in the day. He said, I didn't know what that meant, but it meant that no one really treated me like I needed to matter. And so he went with that label. He said, fine, I'll be a mess up. I'll be the bad guy or whatever. Until one day someone said, well, why are you acting like that? And he said, well, because this is who I am. This is what I was labeled. And he goes, well, who gave you that label? Did you? And it clicked in his head. And so another point to make when we pick our words is it's our time to make our own choices on that and not listen to mom or some old boss or sibling or an ex or significant other. It's time to really be the you that you've defined and not someone else's button on that one.
Yeah, you really got to own that word. That word is you, people need to stop saying I am this because someone else labeled me. Let's go forward and own this and be authentic. So
you got it, Jim.
Well, great. So anyways, thanks again, Chris. I'm bouncing around here, my computer. So anyways, I'm Jim Peacock with Peak Careers Consulting. I teach the Facilitating Career Development course since 17 years now. I have online discussion-based seminars for career practitioners. I do workshops, individual career counseling and coaching. If you are a career practitioner or a career counselor who delivers services, feel free to sign up for my top 10 tips for working with an undecided person. I also do newsletters for career practitioners, which you can get at my website. And again, feel free to connect with me on any of these social media places. Chris, very nice to meet you someday. Hopefully we'll cross paths live and in person, but this has been wonderful, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day and sharing some of your thoughts on this. Thank you.
I'm never busy. I'm blessed. Thank you so much for having me aboard.
Awesome. Very good. Thanks.